everyone. Before we get into today's special episode, I wanted to encourage you, if you haven't done so already, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we will be having some great content featured here on this channel. Whether it be about how I'm conquering my fears, increasing my income, taking my family out on outings, or even trying new things, every adventure that I go on, you come with me. I am so close to making 50 subscribers right here on this channel, and I would like to meet this goal by the end of this month, January 31st. I humbly ask you, if you enjoy my content, please subscribe, share this video, and we can make it a reality. Thank you so much for joining me. Now let's get into it. Aloha everyone, thank you for joining me on this episode. It's a special episode because today I'm going to be honoring and remembering a very important person, actually someone who's made a big difference in my childhood. And I bet that if you're watching this now and you know of him, that he has made some type of impact on your life too. And so I am referring to none other than Mr. Fred Rogers. Yes, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And if you don't know the hood, then you're really too young. That's why I'm here, because I want to share who he was, and I believe it's important to remember him because of the deep impact that he has made on the lives of those that have enjoyed his content for decades. Now, Fred Rogers, he was born in March 20th, 1928. That is like a little bit, just like a couple of years younger than my grandmother, who died at the age of 95 about 10 years ago. So you can get a perspective of how old this guy was. But he died himself February 27th, 2003, just a little over 20 years ago. Fred Rogers, some don't know, he was a minister. And it doesn't surprise me that he was a man of God, but it was very clear that he was anointed for children. And if you don't know what anointed is, anointed means that God empowered him in a special way to minister specifically to children. So he had a special calling, a special anointing on his life. It was so obvious that God moved through him in mighty ways. And he did this for decades, like how I said. He had ministered to children like no adult could. I mean, it was just so impactful. But at that time, as a child, you know, growing up, watching Mr. Rogers, I always thought that he was very genuine and a little outgoing, maybe introverted, but he was so very kind and gentle. And I just remember that about him and how sincere and authentic he was when he shared what he shared. And what happened in his programs is he had like puppets that he would just display different stories and characters through. There were certain reoccurring characters in his regular programming that would visit him and talk about, you know, different things, you know, educational stuff. But the one most important part of his programming was when he just sat down and had a heart-to-heart talk between him and his audience. And those dealt with some pretty deep, sometimes even dark situations and circumstances that children at that time were going through, from death to divorce to being teased at and picked on and bullied to being sad for whatever reason. He dealt with a plethora of different issues that adults were kind of afraid to talk to children about, but he wasn't afraid, and he managed to just really connect in that deep way. And so if you ask any Gen Xer or any baby boomer what did they think about Mr. Rogers, most of them would cry because he was that impactful. He showed that he cared in the midst of a world that was run by adults that didn't think there was any place for children. He gave us significance. He gave us worth through his ministry. And for me personally, I just remember a few things about him that really struck me. One was that he crossed so many borders. Like, it was so taboo to do some of the things that he did. And in that way, he was probably considered controversial, but he had such integrity and character that no one could really find fault in him. But he crossed racial barriers. He loved everybody. He loved different types of people. There was one reoccurring character. He was a police officer on the show. Racial tensions were high, and people who were of a different race were being discriminated against. But Fred Rogers reached out to this one character because he knew that person in society is being ostracized, and it's not right, and children need to know that they are loved. I think his name was Officer Clemens, and the actor, years later had shared how Fred Rogers became his surrogate father. There was one episode where he invited Officer Clemens to come and sit next to him, which was unheard of during that time. And then he also offered him a dip in the pool with his feet. And then he went on to dry his feet. What an act of service. What an act of love. Just as Jesus washed the feet of his disciples and humbled himself, Mr. Rogers was willing to set the example that we need to love as Jesus loved. That really touches me, the example that he gave. And there were just so many other situations and circumstances that had come up throughout the years that Fred Rogers addressed and allowed children to ultimately know that who they are matter and what they're going through matters. Because as you know, children grow up to be us, adults. And it gave me a special appreciation of children, because we forget sometimes, we forget that we were once there. And what happened to us in our early years impacts us greatly as adults. And Mr. Rogers looked straight through our hearts, and he had endeavored to reach every single heart of a child, because he knew that a generation would be risen up, and he wanted them to know the love of God. And that's what Mr. Rogers left for me. And the only thing that I really regret him not being here is simply because he's not here for my son. My son might not really know Mr. Rogers as I had known. And there's really, today, no comparable personality, no comparable character can compare or match to the anointing that Mr. Rogers had. And so the only thing we can do for those of us who were touched by his legacy is to continue that legacy ourselves, and to be mindful of our children and mindful of their hearts, and to connect with them in ways that we don't know that we could connect with them. And so to share that appreciation and that honor for Mr. Rogers, I wanted to do a special song cover. It's my favorite Mr. Rogers song. It's called It's You I Like. And I sing it in honor of Mr. Rogers and remembrance of him, but I sing it in dedication to my son. So I hope you enjoy this.
It happens so often. I walk down the street and someone 20 or 30 or 40 years old will come up to me and say, "You are Mr. Rogers, aren't you?" And then they tell me about growing up with the neighborhood and how they're passing on to the children they know what they found to be important in our television work. Like expressing their feelings through music and art and dance and sports and drama and computers and writing, and invariably we end our little time together with a hug. I'm just so proud of all of you who have grown up with us, and I know how tough it is some days to look with hope and confidence on the months and years ahead. But I would like to tell you what I often told you when you were much younger. I like you just the way you are. And what's more, I'm so grateful to you for helping the children in your life to know that you'll do everything you can to keep them safe and to help them express their feelings in ways that will bring healing in many different neighborhoods. It's such a good feeling to know that we're lifelong friends.
It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. But it's you I like. The way you are right now. The way down deep inside you. Not the things that hide you. Not your toys. They're just beside you. But it's you I like. Every part of you. Your skin, your eyes, your feelings. Whether old or new, I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like. It's you yourself. It's you. It's you I like. It's you I like. Every part of you. Your skin, your eyes, your feelings. Whether old or new, I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like. It's you yourself. It's you.